Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's get moving here, shall we? Thank you very much for coming out today. This is our first Bring a Friend talk of the fall season. Very excited to have you all here, and especially if you're new to the gym, welcome. We've got Dr. Adam Davidson over here who will be giving a talk here in a few minutes. And so I'll tell you what's going to happen here over the next little while. I'm going to give just a really brief talk. Yeah, I can talk sometimes. It'll be about 10 minutes or so. And then I'm going to introduce Adam. And then as we're doing that, I'm going to get hooked up to the IV over here. That's a lot. Like that, I'm not that thirsty. And as I've been joking early in the week, if you do go for the 1,000 milliliters, free catheter as well. Yeah. Your hands are warm?
Yeah. I'm on the right now for you.
Awesome. And then Adam's going to give a talk on hydration and Mainline wellness. And then these services are going to be available to everybody that wants to partake of it. Remember, it's a deep discount today for anybody who wants to give this a shot. And then we're going to be doing a little workout for the benefit of the friends and the family that are showing up. Now, just a little heads up. What we're going to do today is going to be not your typical CrossFit class. We're going to teach you a couple things. We're going to run a little clinic on some of the basics. Coach Aaron over here is your Sergeant Major, and everybody that knows Aaron gives a chuckle like, yeah. Yeah, we love Aaron, hi. He's going to show you, we're going to get you warmed up, we're going to show you some simple things. I'm going to show you a technical thing called the kettlebell swing, which is a staple in what we do. And then we're going to give you a little workout. So like I say, it's not going to be typical of a CrossFit class. And if this is something that you are interested in, just bear that in mind, that this isn't what you'd usually experience if you were coming to Rocky Point here. So what we always want to do is we want to encourage that one-on-one coach interaction with all of our new people. And if you want to get cracking with us, I highly recommend you meeting with one of our coaches. We've got a board over here. This is next week's schedule, all the days of the week and times of the day. Write your name down there, put your name, your number, email address. We'll get in touch with you today, or we can even set up the intro today. And you're going to have a consultation with one of our coaches. And during that, it's about 60 minutes, 90 minutes, depending on how much you want to talk. Because what we want to do is we want to figure out what are your goals? Are we a good match for you? You know, is this something that you can see yourself doing? We show you a few more little things. We kind of run you through your paces, and at the end of it, you have a really good idea of what to expect, and we've got a plan as well to help you reach your goals. Make sense? All right. So let's get cracking for earnest here, shall we? First of all, everybody just give yourself a pat on the back. Or better yet, go over to your neighbor, give your neighbor a pat on the back. Yeah, very nice, good job. All right, congratulations. No, we do that. Because good for you, I'm glad you're here, because it just shows that you all have a sincere interest in improving your health and your wellness. Like when you think about it, we have all just been given this one body to get through our lives, right? And so we're all here today because we want to ensure that we're maximizing the use of our time to ensure that this machine continues to run smoothly. Like, I mean, sure, it's easy to treat this machine as though we've rented it, right? Like a lot of people do. You know, you drive it hard, don't worry about changing the oil. When the check engine light comes on, you put a piece of black tape over it. You know, we'll worry about it further down the road. And it turns out that road is a country road out of cell phone reception, and your engine block is cracked, right? But in the case of our bodies, you know, that under-maintained, undernourished, unfit body is going to become prone to health problems, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, ultimately a degradation in the quality of your life. And you know, I never get tired of talking about this. I've been at this for 8 years doing this, and I do what I do. I do the CrossFit. I try to eat right 80% of the time, and look after myself, not just to look good and feel good, more importantly, nowadays, but you know, I'm thinking about 88-year-old me. You know, just like I put money away today for that old fart so that he doesn't have to think about it, you know, I do the workouts, I do the presses and the squats and the muscle ups and the running and everything else to ensure that that old guy has a good quality of life when he gets there. I want him to be able to do the things that he wants to do. I want him to be able to be still allowed to drive his hover car or go on mountain hikes with his robot dog. All joking aside, like you, I take my future very seriously. So there's a few key areas that I concentrate on, that we all need to concentrate on, to ensure that we are getting that good return on investment of our time in our health and our wellness. And on that list, obviously, is fitness. I think we've got that one figured out. I've been doing this for 8 years now, and I love it. The programming that we do, and the ability to do that programming with a great bunch of people, it doesn't get old. So if you're new here today, yes, what we do is difficult, but I'll tell you the most difficult aspect of what we do is, that's just showing up. Once you make that decision to walk through those doors, the rest is pretty easy. Also on my list, and this is probably one of the most difficult ones to have to deal with, and that's nutrition, right? I am convinced that our brains are hardwired to sabotage ourselves, to poison ourselves. Think about it. In one hand, I've got a butternut squash, all right? Pure, unadulterated goodness right there. Our bodies should be craving it. It's so good for you. When prepared correctly, it actually tastes pretty good. It's going to help with weight loss. It's going to help with recovery. It's going to help with muscle development. And if that's so amazing, our body should be always craving it. Butternut squash? Yeah, put it in me every meal. But then on the other hand, I've got a bag of potato chips. Salt and vinegar, sour cream and onion, zero nutritional value. You feel horrible if you eat too much of it, right? Muscle development? Sure, if we're counting love handles as muscles now, right? Squash, chips, I don't even have them here right now, and yet everybody is thinking, it'd be awesome right now? A handful of chips. Nutrition's always going to be an uphill battle, but this is the one key area that everybody really needs to focus on. Also on my list is sleep. It should come easy. I know it's difficult, but it is so important in our recovery process. And like myself, I find that when I exercise, when I eat right, the sleep comes easier. So I'm trying to get 7 hours of sleep a night. On days that I work out, I'm trying to steal away, go upstairs and have a 20-minute nap. Look, there's nothing good on TV worth staying up for, unless it's Game of Thrones. And leveling up that character, it's only means you're going to be up until 3 a.m. if you stay at it. And tossing and turning in bed, thinking about things that you really can't do anything about until tomorrow, if at all. That's just going to increase your anxiety levels, and sleep isn't going to come. So that's where mindfulness, being able to put away your anxieties, get a good night's sleep is so important. On my list as well, flexibility and mobility. And now you're probably thinking, Tom, man, none of what you're saying is any fun at all. I know, right? I hate stretching. Aaron has often joked that I am the master of nobility. I could do a workout and then go upstairs and sit down for 4 hours and carry on with my day. But I can't get away with it anymore. I am 44, and I simply can't get away without doing mobility. And if I continue to ignore it, then I know that I'm going to run into problems. It's going to be performance issues, as I try to reach my goals in the CrossFit Games. It could be difficulty in recovery. It could mean long-term health issues. I might form a mighty hump as I get into that 88-year-old stage. So luckily, we have some very, very smart people over here in the Wellness Center. Not only are they experts at helping us out with problems that have plagued us, for our lives, but they're also exceptional at identifying issues, those nagging little issues that could become a big problem should you choose to ignore it. So if you do have those nagging issues, that little tweak that comes up on a regular basis, make the appointment, get in, get the checkup done, let the work get done, do the homework that they give you, despite how boring it is. It is going to help. Take the time to fine-tune your body. Finally on my list, and certainly not least, it is hydration and water. I will admit that I am not an expert in this subject. I usually drink when I'm thirsty, which I know is probably not the best thing to do. I really don't know if there is an optimal time to schedule hydration on days that I work out and what have you. As strategic as I get when it comes to drinking is don't drink anything after 8 p.m. because that highly increases my probability of falling down the stairs when I go to the bathroom at 3 a.m. Luckily, we've got Dr. Davidson here today, and he is going to be able to tell us a little bit more on the subject, a little bit more about Dr. Davidson. He is from Vancouver, did his undergrad at UBC, and then went out to Calgary and trained to become an emergency physician. Returned to Vancouver in 2010, where he has been on full-time staff at Lionsgate Hospital in North Vancouver. He's also a clinical assistant professor at UBC as well. Did I get that right?
Very impressive.
Yeah. He is an avid athlete, and despite this very busy schedule, he still goes out to Blackcomb, where he is a mountain doctor during the ski season. And somewhere in all of this schedule, he has figured out to find the time to start up Mainline Wellness and come out to things like this. So just remember, guys, we've got an emergency room doctor here. Usually to see these people, you have to wait 6 hours, and then you get to see them for about 5 minutes. Dr. Davidson's come out here today, and if you have any questions, today's the day to ask them. So please feel free to ask those questions. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce Dr. Adam Davidson.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming out on your Saturday morning, everybody. We're going to actually have Tom sit down, and we're going to get him started. I know he joked about how intimidating and big that bag is, but for those of you that worked out already this morning or are going to work out later today, I guarantee your body will suck up every drop. So Darren, my nurse here, is going to get things started, and you can see the process. The talk will probably take about the same length of time that bag does to go in, and we can then answer any questions, and any of you that want to give it a try, we're more than happy to hook you up. So for every one of you, you're going to need to fill out a brief little screening questionnaire. Again, this clientele is incredibly healthy, but it's just purely just a safety thing. So we'll get Tom to fill that out, and I can start talking here. So I first met Tom and Errol at the CanWest Games. That was Mainline's sort of first big event that we came and set up at to introduce ourselves to everybody. And I loved their professionalism, their enthusiasm, and I thought if Rocky Point was any reflection on how they ran the CanWest Games, it was really something that I would love to partner with going forward. And so I reached out to them, and they were very keen to have me come and talk with you folks today. So thank you very much again for having me here. The main reason why I started this company is that I saw a need, and it was presenting itself in the emergency room over and over again. So I would see people that were otherwise healthy, they didn't smoke, didn't drink too heavily, in theory got enough exercise, but these people were coming in, they're coming to emerge, and they've tipped over somehow. They've kind of crashed, and they've presented with either a flu or GI symptoms, even mood symptoms, to be totally honest with you. And oftentimes when these people come to emerge, because we're so busy, nurses will start IVs on them in anticipation of us either needing to give, whether it's pain medicine or antibiotics or nausea medicine. So they'll have fluids running before I've even seen them. And what I noticed over and over again was that even if I ended up not giving anything to these people besides just the IV fluids, time and time again, they would describe themselves feeling significantly better, and all we did was give them fluids. And these weren't people that were in shock, they weren't profoundly dehydrated, that they were having heat stroke, and they didn't have major electrolyte abnormalities on blood work or anything like that. But they felt incredibly better. And they knew that all they got was fluids. So it wasn't like it was a placebo effect where they thought they got something else. But they described themselves as feeling significantly better. And so I started asking myself why. Why are these otherwise healthy people, one, coming into emerge, and two, feeling so much better after what seems to be a minor intervention? And so I started looking into it more, and like a lot of things in medicine, a lot of things with our bodies, I think it's multifactorial, and I actually think it's more of a macro or societal level issue. In North America, workaholics are it's almost considered a virtue now more than a vice. We work longer hours, we take fewer holidays than almost any other developed country, so us and the US. It's well known that we have very few set holidays. Taking sick days is almost seen as a sign of weakness, let alone the very idea of taking a preventative mental health day. And so you couple the nonstop work with the TV and media telling us that we need to be incredibly successful at our jobs, we need to have amazing bodies, we need to be great at home, as a spouse, as a parent, and we need to be great athletes. And we try and fit it all in, and what it does is it depletes us. It brings us closer to that edge, our sort of resilience or our buffer shrinks, and that distance to the tipping point of illness or mental health issues becomes smaller and smaller. And that's sort of what we're going to talk about today, is some of the factors that you may or may not know that contribute to that, and then how we can prevent it.
Ouch.
There's three subgroups that I want to talk about. Some of you are probably members of these groups, if not all three, like myself. Those of you that have small children at home, you'll know that the disruption on your sleep, and then those that are either in daycare or even starting elementary school, the petri dish that they're exposed to of bacteria and viruses and everything makes you sitting duck for illness. So people with small kids at home, your buffer is even that much smaller. Those of you that work shift work or deadline-driven work, again, the disruptions in sleep, the spikes in cortisol levels, the extra stress, again, also going to bring you closer to that edge. And then finally, people that are high performance or vigorous recreational athletes, meaning you need to fit in your physical activity on top of work, on top of everything else. You're not making a living doing your sport. That, again, is going to deplete you further. So those three groups, again, I'm probably speaking to the fact that you're here, it means you're probably in one of those groups already, if not all three. So what this all leads to, if you fly close to the sun for too long, you're gonna crash, right? You're gonna tip over, and on the minor end of that, you hit something that the French in cycling, they call it un jour sans, or the day without. And it's something you probably have all experienced in here, where you wake up and you can't quite put a finger on it, but something's just not feeling right. You go to start working out and your heart rate won't rise no matter what you do. Or even after minor activity, minor exertion, your heart rate spikes up to near max. Your muscles are feeling leaden and you're just sluggish and you don't know why, but it's just sort of a wasted workout. It's an inconvenience, but not a big deal, but it can also be a shot across the bow that there's more serious stuff around the corner. So serious illnesses like a flu, pneumonia, GI issues, or even mood disruption. And it means that you basically have been slowly depleting yourselves, and the recovery and the hydration has not been optimal. And it's not your fault. Like I said, it's just crazy to try and fit it all in. But what I would do is, again, talk about some of the contributors to that, and again, how we can hopefully help you out preventing that crash in the future. So hydration, the big one. We lose water all the time. Even while you guys are sitting here not working out, you're losing water in from your bodies. The very act of breathing. You humidify the air that you breathe to make it easier to transfer down into the alveoli deep in your lungs. So that takes water from your system to humidify that air. Detoxifying, so your kidneys getting rid of the waste products, needs water to create the urine to detoxify. And then finally, there's literally millions of cellular reactions going on in your body right now, all of which, many of which use water molecules as part of that process. So even when you're doing absolutely nothing, you're still using up water. And then of course there's sweat. You guys are very good at that here, I know. And even though the amount of salt in sweat and the amount of water that's lost in sweat varies significantly, it still adds up. Yes, sweating can be conditioned, so in general, the more in shape you are, the more dilute your sweat is, your body becomes better at conserving salts, but you're still losing salt at a significant rate when you're sweating. So your body, your plasma, is a very salty solution. If you were to drink it, it would essentially taste like seawater. It's very, very salty. So when we try and replace sweat or rehydrate with water or even sports drinks, those things are incredibly dilute compared to what our plasma is. And the main reason why, especially even Gatorade or Powerade, the main reason why they are as dilute as they are is because it would taste disgusting to have something as salty as what our blood is. 1 liter, the amount of electrolytes you get in 1 liter of this, which is balanced to our plasma, is equivalent to 7 liters of Gatorade. So that's how much Gatorade you would need to get the same amount of electrolytes that are in that 1 liter there. So obviously not realistic, right? Not only would you feel bloated and pretty gross, but the amount of free sugar that goes along with that, which those drinks need to put in to make it taste better, is just unhealthy. So that's just, it gives you an idea of how much salt we need in our blood compared to what it is that you can drink or what's available. So if you're working out for an hour and you sweat and you replace all of that with just water, that's okay. It's not going to cause any problems, but it's very inefficient. Your body's going to need to draw the salts from the rest of your tissues to bring into the plasma to balance it out. And if there's too much free water, your kidneys are going to need to pee it out. So again, what you take in, actually very little of it goes to refilling your plasma volume. What needs to happen is it needs to be done gradually over time, and that's over hours. And ideally, it's associated with oral intake of foods as well, high salt, so your gut can then take in the salts that it needs to combine it with the water and then slowly equilibrate the plasma again. But if you're coming here, if it's your lunch hour, you work out like crazy, you sweat like a pig, and you drink 1 liter, 2 liters of water and then go back to work, it's not going to do it. Same thing if you're doing for higher endurance, longer endurance sports like Ironman, marathons, that kind of thing, it actually can become dangerous to be doing nothing but drinking because you actually can dilute the salt in your blood so much that some people will seize, some people will pass out. All the medical tents at Ironman, for example, have little finger prick sodium testers to check for sodium because it's such a well-known phenomenon. It's called exercise-associated hyponatremia, and you're not losing, hyponatremia is low sodium, and you're not losing the sodium from the sweat, you're diluting it from all the drinks that you're drinking over the 4 to 12 hours of exercise. So this is what happens when your body's not given time to adjust. Your gut and your blood know how to do it. It knows what it needs, but it needs time. And again, in our crazy busy lives, it's very difficult to take that time to compensate. And if you are working out here, yes, a workout here is not an Ironman, but if you're doing it 4 or 5 days a week, it starts to slowly take its toll. And I think what you end up doing is you have a chronic low-level dehydration. Electrolyte stores are getting low, not necessarily in your blood, but they're being drawn from your tissues, and you get closer to that crash. What we're trying to do with Mainline here is essentially try to top up the tank preventatively. We fill it up, so even if it's done on a once-a-month basis, I kind of think of it as the typewriter. You're kind of, and then it's back to the top again. And that's sort of what we're trying to do here. This, like I said, we're putting 7 liters worth of electrolytes into Tom's system right now. That will go into his tissues, that will stay in his plasma, and hopefully prevent that sort of low-grade degradation that happens over time. Obviously, this can be done orally, for sure, like I said, but it takes a real conscious effort, and it's something that I don't think people understand, that just fluids alone, if it's not done correctly, can be really inefficient and sometimes, again, in the setting of Ironmans or marathons, detrimental. So it's just something I wanted to let you know. So the salt and the fluid need to go together, and it needs to happen over time. Any questions about that before I go on? Yeah.
So if your body does it and you take this, then you get too much salt?
Great question. So if you were to do recover optimally, so you took the time, you had the right foods, the right drinks, you don't need this. So they did a study where they took endurance athletes, so cyclists, and they compared IV hydration versus what they called optimal oral hydration. So, and that was done over sort of 4 hours with a measured amount of fluids by mouth associated with salty food intake, and measured performance the next day, and there was no change. Problem is that taking that 4 hours to do for us, our recreational athletes, is very difficult. And so that's where I see over and over again people just sort of living with this sort of low-grade dehydration. I take myself, after an emerge shift, I go to pee and it's literally that color. I don't drink, it's so busy. I don't take the time to stay hydrated enough, and I know it. I get home and I try and drink to compensate, but I still wake up with a headache the next morning because I couldn't catch up. And I think that's more of an issue. It can be done, it certainly can be done, it's just hard. No, yeah, your kidneys will take care of the excess, yeah.
On a non-physical, non-workout day, exactly how much water should you drink in a day? And then on a workout day, how much water should you drink?
Good question. So ideally, you drink to thirst, and that should be fine.
Down that you have to get 2 liters in
No, drink to thirst. So when you start a workout, don't be thirsty before the workout starts. So make sure you're prepping, but you don't have to be hammering stuff down in anticipation. It's just going to get wasted. Your kidneys will filter it all out. But drink to thirst both. If you drink to thirst both before and during and after, you will eventually catch up.
The problem I have is what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
For work, I actually forget to drink. Too busy. So I'm so used to not being thirsty because I'm too busy to think that I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
So in that regard, should you try to get at least? Can you quantify how much you should ingest?
What I've started doing at work, because I'm the exact same boat as you, is I literally bring my water bottle now, like my biking water bottle, with me, and I carry it around just so I see it for that visual cue. Because I don't think about it until the shift's over, and I'm like, afterwards. So yeah, you need to, or some people, I even recommend, we all have smartphones that have little timers on them. Even if you set it to go off every 45 minutes or an hour or something like that, it's like, again, that cue to do it. But in general, if you preloading too much, it's not going to make a big difference unless you're going to be using that fluid in the sort of the immediate aftermath. Yeah. So that's hydration. The other thing I want to talk about is recovery. So anytime we put our bodies through physical stress, it equals inflammation of some kind. Now that stress can be intentional and positive, like what you guys do here, where you are intentionally stressing your muscles to cause an inflammatory reaction, muscle breakdown, which then causes them to be rebuilt bigger and stronger. That's good, that's positive. But stresses can also be unintentional, like illness. It can be like Errol's upcoming wedding, where people might go a little too hard. That's another inflammation with obvious consequences that many of us have experienced. But it all causes predictable symptoms, and what it does is it causes our body to cycle between a catabolic and an anabolic state. So when you guys are here, most of you that have worked out already today, you are currently in a catabolic state. You are breaking down, removing damaged or inflamed tissues, and you're going to then switch into an anabolic state as you repair and rebuild. This whole process uses up tons of enzymatic and cellular reactions that require vitamins, minerals, protein to do. So again, whether this stress is positive, like what you're doing here, or detrimental, it still is using up all of these supplies. And again, it's difficult with this in this sort of crazy life. You talked about the chips versus the squash, to get everything that we need, especially if you're in a high demand state. So again, how can that manifest itself? Well, often people will describe hitting a plateau, where they start working out, they get big gains, they're progressing really quickly, then all of a sudden their performance levels off or even starts to decline. Your muscles will be sore or stiff a little bit longer than they used to be. Your joints will be sore or stiff a little bit longer. All of that can be a sign that your supplies of these building blocks have gotten low. And it might not be all of them, it might just be one or two. But that's how it can start to manifest itself. And again, when you're trying to repair or recover from a real illness, you want to make sure that that's done as quickly and as optimally as possible. So every one of our treatments that we offer includes the 12 vitamins that are in here. That's what's giving it the yellow color. Because I think that the groups that we're trying to target, it's important, and I think it's going to be really beneficial. So in this bag, we have the saline, or what's called the Ringer's solution, which has all the electrolytes in it, but then it also has the 12 vitamins, because again, I think Tom, given what he does for work and for his recreation, will use every single ounce that's in that bag. Any other questions? I have a list of the 12 vitamins that are in every bag here with their core functions, so you guys can have a look and see what it is that they do there. And then we have a couple of optional things that we've chosen to add on for people that need it. And this is, again, helping with recovery. And in doing my research, there was 2 minerals in particular that kind of that stood out as being magic. One is magnesium. Again, many of you might take it already, orally. So magnesium, the best way to think of magnesium is the global relaxant. Okay, it kind of causes everything to just go. We haven't put it in yours because you have a workout to do later today. Right. But what it does is it helps. So from skeletal muscle, so the muscles that we see and can control, What it does is it helps the fibers to relax and elongate. That allows us to improve our flexibility. It also decreases soreness, cramping, stiffness following a workout. Okay? It also works centrally, however, and people that do get the magnesium drip will sort of describe a nice little chill out feeling, sort of like drinking a chamomile tea. And it's also known as a fairly good natural sleep aid. So magnesium, again, is for recovery. It's for after. Not ideal if you're going to have a competition day or a big workout schedule, because you're going to probably be a little too zenned out to maximize. And again, there's a myth that magnesium helps to prevent cramps. So by taking magnesium before a workout, you're not going to cramp up as much. This is more for running or cycling, that kind of thing. It's actually not true, unfortunately. The signals for the muscles to contract override any effect that the magnesium would have. So the cramping benefit is actually just for afterwards. The other element that's got multiple benefits is zinc. So zinc has a powerful anti-inflammatory effect, so it helps to, in both the repair and the rebuild phase of muscles, so it's a catalyst for all those enzymatic reactions that happen. And it's also one of only 2 natural things that have been shown to prevent the common cold, as well as minimize the symptoms and the duration if you do get a common cold. So that zinc and vitamin C are the only 2 that have been shown to have that kind of a benefit. So not only is it an anti-inflammatory, helps with muscle repair and recovery, but it also is a good immune booster. So those are the 2 elements that we've added to our treatments for people that need it. And then finally, high-dose vitamin C. Again, you might have heard about this. It's offered. It's sort of a popular thing that's been advertised more and more. I did some research on it. High-dose vitamin C, we're talking 2 grams. 2 grams is both immune booster as well as a powerful antioxidant. Now, the issue is it's not an immune booster for everybody. A big study, 2013, multi-study analysis, studied the effects of high-dose vitamin C on the general population, and for most people, it was no better than placebo. However, there was one group where it had a distinct and large benefit, and that was people that were undergoing prolonged or frequent significant exertional activity. You guys. It prevented colds, prevented viral illnesses, and for those that did get them, it shortened the duration and the severity of symptoms. So in this multivitamin bag here, we have a regular dose of vitamin C because, again, it's needed in so many things. But it's not offered, the high dose isn't offered to everybody because not every one of our clients is going to need it. However, people that are working out like you guys do here, it could potentially be a benefit as cold and flu season starts to approach. And again, why? Why this one population that's doing healthy things, they're working out, that are physically fit? Again, it has to do, there's no textbook answer, but the thought is that it has to do with this gradual depletion. This anabolic catabolic switching has caused a low level depletion, and so they can benefit from this high dose. Yeah. If you have too much? Yeah, so again, your kidneys, that's the beautiful thing about having healthy kidneys is that they are your body's tool to equilibrate everything. Now again, most likely you can't get enough magnesium, to be honest with you, if you're in here regularly. The problem by taking it by mouth is that it's a powerful laxative. So you can't take, to get the amounts that you need by mouth, if you're to take it all at once, actually going to give you the runs. So magnesium citrate is one of the most common things we use in the Emerge to treat constipation. So it has some unwanted side effects by taking too much by mouth. Yeah. Same thing with zinc. So zinc, again, it's not the zinc itself, but it's what's compounded with in the lozenges or the nasal spray. Actually, is toxic to the nerve endings in our nose. So anosmia or decreased smell or lack of smell is a common, unfortunately, side effect of taking too much zinc regularly by mouth or by the nasal spray. So again, we chose to offer it as in our IV treatment because one, I think it has a lot of benefit, and two, it bypasses that potential issue. Yeah, great question. Any other questions?
So magnesium here doesn't
No, yeah, so it's in the gut. So like I said, it's the relaxer. It causes everything to just kind of go. You guys have been great. I hope I haven't spoken too much or gone too much into the minor details of physiology, but I felt it was important to, one, hopefully shed some light on why you've maybe experienced some of the things, those off days that I was telling you about in here or in the rest of your lives. And I also wanted to explain to you the rationale behind what Mainline offers, what it does. There's so many health products that are promoted to be magic bullets, and a lot of them unfortunately have either dubious or no evidence to support that they're any better than placebo. And I think my integrity as a physician, and if I'm going to be asking people to pay money for our services, I want you to know the thought and the reason behind it. There could be other things that are out there that are magic, that work well, that we may add later on, but I'm not going to do it until there's hard research to show it. It's just not the philosophy of this company. And so that's why I delved into the physiology that I did. But another thing about this company, and for me, this is my first time I've gone into the sort of the business realm. I chose a pretty stupid business to start because in order for us to do it, everybody has to do something that everybody hates, and that's get the needle, right? Now, obviously, some people dislike it a little more than others. Some people hit the deck as soon as they see it, and then there's people that just have a little bit of discomfort. But I wouldn't be here if I didn't think the potential benefits greatly outweigh that short moment of pain. Now, the fact that you guys come here, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here to a certain extent. You guys all have a bit of a masochistic bent, the fact that you do CrossFit, right? And so this is a bit of a healthier audience for me, but you know already that short-term pain is worth it when the gains are justified. You've seen the benefits, you've seen the transformation that's happened to yourself, to your colleagues, and you see how it transmits into the rest of your life. And I do feel that what we're offering can do that in the right situation. Speaking to Tom and Errol, I wanted to come to talk to you to hopefully teach you some things, and two, if you felt that there was a use or a need for or an interest in our services, we would love to form a relationship with you people long term. You are the kind of people that we would love to work with. You're making healthy, positive decisions already, and we would love to be a part of that, facilitate that, help your performance both in here and at home. Yes, we do weddings, and we've done, we'll help people with hangovers and that kind of thing, and because that makes a difference too, and it helps, and it's fun as well. But this is where I really feel that we can make a big positive difference. People that are healthy, doing good things, making good decisions, and we can just help them along that journey. So if this is something that you think you would like us to do going forward, we proposed initially to Tom and Errol that we would maybe consider starting at just once a month. Those that want to can pre-sign up, and we'd offer all of our treatments going forward at sort of a 25% off in perpetuity. Again, because this relationship is something that I think would be mutually beneficial for everybody. We want to make sure that we offer these services as affordable and as convenient a way as possible for you. It's done on your terms, on your turf. And again, we get to work with people that are making really good decisions. So, yeah.
For somebody who's working, I guess, maybe 4 days a week, 2 jobs, whatever, how often is this possibly necessary?
It's a good question.
Would your once a month be-
I don't know yet. I think once a month is a good conservative start. I don't want to be, I don't want to be seen as coming across as too aggressive about it. I think it's going to make a difference once a month for sure. And then if people, we would always just be open to adjusting it going forward. If people want us to come more often, that's not a problem. The company is totally mobile. We don't have a clinic or an office. So anytime there's a group of 5 or more, we can come at any time. But in terms of doing it, coming to a facility like this, I think once a month is probably a good start. And then we could just, it's because it's a new company, I'd love feedback from all of our clients, what you want, what works, all that kind of thing, yeah.
Is there a risk of getting used to it and then, if you take a month off, you're just going to get that much?
Very good question. No. Yeah, no. So it goes without saying that everything that we offer here is non-prescription. So we're not offering any drugs here. Everything that we offer can be gotten in some dosage form over the counter at any pharmacy. There is no tolerance that can be built up to it. So it's not physiologic dependence that can happen from it. You might feel different just because you've gotten used to the hydration, and it's amazing. I get these after I do, so every month I do a string of night shifts in a row. I have to do a block of 3 in a row, and that's every month, and I get one of these after I do that block. And it's amazing how different I feel, and I think part of it is I just didn't know. I didn't know what kind of toll those night shifts were doing on my body until I had one of these afterwards, and now it's like it gets me to sleep faster, I get my clock turned around faster, all of these things. So that's my monthly dose, is after my night shifts, but yeah.
About adding things like BCAAs or arginine or anything like that.
Yeah, so the amino acids and the proteins, I've looked into that, so that's a key component to this recovery and to the rebuilding process. Problem is they're very expensive, and it's very hard to get very sourced from a reputable source for the IV form. So I've decided to just, I don't want to bring that risk to you or to me by getting it from sketchy internet sources, and I think exactly. So I think that's something that's going to need to be, for the time being anyways, diet based. Yeah. TPN, it's sort of a total parenteral nutrition, is something that intensive care or burn victims will get in the hospital, where they get their fats, their proteins, and everything given through the IV, and it's actually well known to increase your infection risk, getting those kind of things put straight into the vein. And so again, it's more of a, they're totally valuable, and if there was a safe way to do it, I'd do it, but I haven't found that, so.
Yeah. Taking it early is easy enough.
Yeah.
I had one question. Yeah. Oh, I feel fine. Yeah, no, I feel good. But you know, like I'm thinking, as far as training is concerned, and working something like this into you know, a monthly routine, and in training, I track everything that I do as far as a workout is concerned, and so I can see the numbers going up. Weights are going up. I do workouts faster. Nutrition, I track everything that I eat, and so what would be some of the metrics that I would want to track to know that this is having a positive effect?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think those jour sans that I was telling you about, you know, I think keeping track of the frequency that those would happen, certainly making sure, you know, the trajectory of your improvements would be other ones, and then how, I think too, how you're able to function in your day-to-day lives. Are you going home still energized? Are you able to sleep? How's your sleep? All of those things, I think all of it will play a role. Yeah. One more thing with regards to the poke. Again, so Darren is an emerge nurse at Lionsgate. He's also worked at VGH before. Every one of our nurses that come along with us are actively ER practicing or ICU practicing nurses. Okay, so they've got either hundreds, or in Darren's case, they're probably thousands of IV starts under their belts. You guys as CrossFitters are sort of the bunny slope of IV starts in general, but there's always going to be a tricky one or two, and so that's why these guys are here, because that's the service point. That's the part that catches everybody up or makes them hesitant to usually to go ahead with the services. That is the needle. And so everyone that comes here, everyone that works for me is an actively practicing ER nurse. And with regards to the needle itself, another thing I found, I didn't realize this, but people are concerned that once the needle starts, they're worried that the sharp needle is still in their arm afterwards. Okay, and I wanted to sort of address that too. So when we start the needle, the sharp part is actually just in your system for about 2 seconds at most. And then what happens is it gets pulled back into this protective sheath. So if it was to drop or fall, it's hidden. Nobody's going to step on it. You're not going to get any inadvertent pokes, either you folks or the nursing staff. And then the only thing that remains in your arm is just this flexible little plastic tube. So again, I thought I would just sort of try and alleviate some of the concerns anyways that go along with the needle. And it looks like you are about done. Yeah, so again, it's multiple stages, but by far the majority do feel an immediate effect. Especially, certainly if you've already had a workout today too, there's a bit of an energized effect. And frankly, I'm not 100% sure if that's because of what you've just done to yourself kind of thing versus the fluids themselves, but certainly the hydration effect is felt immediately. But the other stuff that's given, the vitamins, the minerals for those that have it, those effects are felt for days afterwards. Yeah.
So, waiting for someone else to ask. How much
Yeah, so good question. So we have 5 different treatments, and the pricing is over there. So our normal, our sort of full price ranges from $100 to $150. The $150 one is a liter plus the high dose vitamin C plus the zinc plus the mag. It's everything at once. And the lower end is what Tom just got here, but 500 cc's instead of a liter. And so, like I said, we'd be doing 25% off for going forward from those prices.
I know you used to do this at my naturopath, so I'm wondering, is this covered under naturopaths for you guys?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. So exactly. So provided I do the initial assessment, it's then covered. So we'll give you formal receipts with my licensing information and everything on it, so you could submit those. Yeah. Yeah. So the most common one, to be totally honest with you, so there's symptoms of sort of significant acute dehydration, like the dry mouth and the parched lips. But the most common symptom is a morning headache. Okay, so the hangover headache. A huge part of the hangover headache is because of dehydration that's occurring from the diuretic effect of alcohol. So obviously, you're not going to have a hangover headache in the morning, but having a low-grade headache when you wake up in the morning is a very common sign of dehydration. The other thing you feel, so tissues that have high turnover beyond muscle, so skin, hair, that kind of thing, that's another place that you can feel it. Your skin can become dry and a little bit flaky. Your hair can become brittle. In some cases, it can actually even start to fall out a little bit more frequently than normal. But those are some signs of a chronic dehydration. So again, if you have healthy kidneys, it should take care of it for you. As long as that water isn't ingested over a really rapid period of time, then you're not gonna get that hyponatremia that I was telling you about. So your kidneys should take care of it for you. You just have the very dilute urine. Taking too much water in short periods of time, if it's associated with water loss through sweat, that's when you can get into the danger zone. 4 millimoles. 4 millimoles is the concentration, which is pretty much the same as in plasma. Yeah. Right? Thank you so much, everybody.
Do you have a question, Mark?
Oh, sorry.
If you do this, do you feel the effects immediately, or does it kind of take a day or two?
Yeah. So almost everybody that we treat describes an effect that they feel immediately. That's sort of So yeah, very good question. So at CanWest, for example, we had 2 big spikes in when people came to use our services. One was right after day 1, so at the end of day 1 to facilitate recovery, and the next time was the morning before day 2. You're not going to, by preloading with this before a competition, especially if you've been tapering and been taking it pretty easy before, I don't think you're going to get a huge benefit from it. So where the main benefit comes after or multi-day, pre and a multi-day format. Yeah.
Are you going to do a Fraser Valley Throwdown next month?
Is it next weekend?
No. You haven't got an event coming up? You got everything yet?
No, not yet. So if there is an event that you'd like us to be at, we're more than happy to come to it for sure. But yeah.
So I do triathlons and I don't do anything new on race day, obviously. So
Yeah.
just that people test it out to see how they feel before they do an event like that, or like should they test it out before they do it on an event day?
It's again, I think you'll get the similar benefit if you've just been if you test it out after your routine training, for sure. Yeah, we did a bunch of different groups after Ironman Whistler this year, and they loved it. It went really, really well, and so that's certainly a good clientele. This is a small little disclaimer. Any of you if any of you are licensed athletes or compete in any sort of under any governing body that subscribes to the World Anti-Doping Association, non-emergency IV fluids are not allowed. And the reason is not that it's considered performance enhancing, but it can be used as a masking agent for performance-enhancing drugs. So if you're taking EPO or HGH or anything like, or cortisone for recovery, and you know you got a blood test coming up or a urine test coming up, and you hammer 2 liters of fluids into your body, you're going to dilute it and make it difficult to test, and so that's why it's banned. So that's my little disclaimer. So for Ironman, for example, any of the elite category, no. Yeah. Yeah. No. No. Yeah. Again, it's there's not a good injectable form. Yeah. Yeah. So no creatine. Good question. Yeah. Okay.
So Tyler here can attest to what's going on.
I wanted to test it out because I'm actually pretty wimpy with needles
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So actually, the needle was fine.
Yeah. Actually, you know what hurt the most?
What's that?
When you pulled the tape off and you pulled my hair out.
The wax, the free wax, right?
How are you feeling?
I feel great. Like in the first 30 seconds, I was like, whoa! So I just took a few deep breaths and I actually feel really good.
So-
I did a little test. I had a couple crowns last night.
So another issue is in part of the questionnaire that we do. So which people can this potentially have adverse effects for, right? Which are the people that we don't want to offer these to? And it's a very small group, but essentially people that have bad hearts and bad kidneys. So people that have heart failure, giving them IV fluids isn't good because you can overwhelm the heart. Same thing if you have bad kidneys, especially if you're a dialysis patient, same thing. You can volume overload somebody if you're not careful. So those are the main people. Others that are on blood thinners, again, because we're doing a poke, we're very cautious about that kind of thing. In terms of allergic reactions, again, like I said, everything here is something that you can get over the counter. So the chances are very low, but niacin is one of the vitamins that's given there, and niacin can cause what's, in some people, fair people more commonly, a niacin flush. And so you feel this sort of prickly heat, almost that feeling that can come when you get really embarrassed and you go all red. It can trigger that kind of a reaction. It's not an allergic reaction, it will go away, but that's something that people can feel.
I used to do vitamin D injections at my naturopath. I used to get
You get that flush? Yeah, yeah. And some people describe sort of being able to almost taste the vitamins on their tongue. Yeah, yeah. So, but again, yeah. I just prep people that you might feel this. It's not an allergic reaction, but yeah. Awesome. So anybody that's wanting to try.